Before this video starts, we'd like to tell you about a preview night that we're doing on the 7th of March in Birmingham. It's pretty much our only preview night that we're doing before the Cheltenham Festival. We were there last year. It was a lot of fun and a great night. We've got Chris Pitt there, Charlie Post, Melissa Jones, myself and Andrew. It's in Birmingham. All the details are on screen here. Starts at 7 p.m. Would love to see you there. Costs £12. You can pre-book your tickets using this phone number at the bottom. Adam is the man at contact. He's the organiser, and hope to see you there. Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. This is going to be our Dublin Racing Festival and Cheltenham Trials Day breakdown, division by division. As you can probably hear, I've definitely caught something from Leopardstown and Dublin because I'm really struggling. Yeah, well, I also sound like a picture of health here myself. We brought our bodies to the limits, and some of those limits were tested and perhaps failed in time. But it was a great weekend. It was fantastic to be over there. It was a very humbling experience as well, seeing the amount of people that came up to us, whether it be at the racecourse or on either of the nights out. I think the people at the racecourse probably saw us at better form than those that saw us maybe later on in evenings. Yeah, no, it was very brilliant. I love being over there, and it was great to meet so many of you who watch our videos, and it was very rewarding. Right, we've got so much to talk about. We are just going to simply fire through it. Last week we asked for 600 likes for this video, and you delivered. I think we got almost 1,000. Oh, it's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, what we're going to do is we might touch on a couple of handicaps in this video, but if this video gets 700 likes, we'll do a handicaps video next week. Horses that have just caught our eye for those after these big races, and maybe horses that might need to run between now and the Cheltenham Festival. Right, let's kick off things with the Triumph Hurdle. And the Triumph Hurdle market has taken some interesting twists over the last couple of weeks. Sergino, 4 to 5 now for the race. I think that's probably off the back of nothing really coming out in the Spring Juvenile, but let's talk about Sergino in isolation. He was very good on Trials Day. He was, and I took him on with Burdett Road, who I didn't think there was much excuse for, to be honest. I know they said he perhaps underperformed. I thought he ran a pretty similar race to that at November time, and Sergino's just an excellent horse. I thought he'd come on so much, just even from a slickness perspective, from Kempton to Cheltenham. He'd done plenty of schooling. Yeah, I'd have thought so, but he was so professional, and he put the race to bed very impressively. It's hard not to like him for this race, to be honest. I know he's odds on, he's prohibitive price. I think he'll be at least that price, if not bigger, on the day. But, you know, it's hard pressed to be taking him on at the moment. Now, the horses that you might look to take him on, I remember I put up Stormheart for the Triumph Hurdle. He is now 10 to 1, 12 to 1 in some places. He finished third. Cargeese was in there. Madgeborough is an enormous horse in that Spring Juvenile. Cargeese won the race. Is he this clear second chance now in the Triumph, or is it a slightly mysterious run? No, I don't. Look, Cargeese is a very good filly. She improved from Christmas time, won impressively. I'm not sure about the strength of the form, to be honest. I was a little bit perturbed by turning in. Cala Conti looked to be going backwards, and she stuck at it and was only beaten 3.5 lengths in the end. I thought they'd go well away from her. Stormheart ran a very funny race. Was never at the races early doors. Stuck at it well enough in the end. Without blowing smoke up your arse, if I was to back any of those 3 Mullins horses in the first 3 of the Spring Juvenile for the Triumph, it would be Stormheart. But, as I say, I wouldn't be queuing up to be backing anything against Sergino. It would be more of a, if Stormheart was that 8-9 to 1 on the day, I'd back him each way, because I think Townend will, renew the faith. Yeah, you think he might still ride him? Yeah, I think so, and they'll leave Danny on Cargeese. Right, now moving on to the Supreme Novices Hurdle, and this is a fascinating race, because we've got Ballyburn, who's 5 to 4. Should he be 5 to 4? Well, if you knew he was going to run there, which I suppose an awful lot of these books at this stage of the season are non-runner, no bet. Yep. He definitely should be favoured. Whether he should be quite that short, I was very impressed with him. He was incredibly good. Jumped so slick. He's quite a big horse. Yeah, and I've always thought he was probably a stayer as well, but he had speed and he was just electric over his hurdles. He was unbelievable, yeah. And actually, when you think about it, that Daldorf last hurdle wouldn't have helped him in any stretch. Put away a good horse and Slade Steele back in second. So there's an awful lot to like about him. I still have my doubts whether he'll turn up here. Why wouldn't he? So the only thing I'm looking at here is we've got the anti-post markers in front of us, and 3 of the top 5 in the betting are all owned by JP McManus. Mystical Power, Jericho de Repene, no flies on him. Surely all 3 of them aren't going to run.
No, you wouldn't have thought so. Jericho de Repene is obviously, I think he's definitely going to go to the Supreme. I don't think he has the option anymore. It's just, you'd think at some stage, I can't see a world where Ballyburn and Mystical Power run against each other.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know which one will go up in trip at the moment, especially when you put that into perspective also with JP's horses. You'd think that Mystical Power might be that one to go up in trip, and Paul might want to ride Ballyburn in a Supreme first race of the festival. I just don't know. I'm not so sure. I said we were having this debate back in September time. It's been a long running debate. I put him up, I thought he was a Supreme horse at the start of the season. And now that he's done everything to tell me he is, I'm getting cold feet.
I think that's the fascinating thing with Paul Townend, because at the moment you would imagine Nico de Boinville will be on Jericho de Repene. Mark Walsh will ride Mystical Power. So that doesn't... If Ballyburn was to go to the Ballymore, it leaves Paul Townend without a real solid top chance in the Supreme?
No, I think if Ballyburn was to turn up in the Ballymore, then Il Atlantique would turn up in the Supreme, and they'd try to do a bit of a Champagne Fever jobby. Whether he's good enough to win a Supreme or a Ballymore for that instance, I'm not quite sure. And as a result, I can see why they always seem to like running that kind of... the one they feel is the horse in the Supreme. That being said, you can look at Ballyburn and show comparisons to Sir Gerhard. So it's very hard to get a feel on what's what, but he's definitely entitled to be favourite for both races.
And he is. For the Ballymore, he's 5-4 as well. Slade Steele's in there, roughly second favourite, 9-2 is his best price. Mystical Power in there, 7-1. Reading Tommy Wrong, 8. Il Atlantique in there, 10s. Gidley Park, 11s. Did we see possibly 2 Cheltenham Festival winners running in that 2 mile Grade 1 at...
Well, it seems to be a very strong form line. You'd have to look at Slade Steele. He's improved run on run. I thought he was workmanlike against King of Kingsfield. He was workmanlike against Lecky Watson, and he's been good in finishing second to Ballyburn. I think he's getting better. He needs 2.5 miles. This is definitely his trip. It's a very good selection from yourself at the start of the season to be putting him up at 25s, and now you're on a general 4-1 shot. They could easily go off 5 if Ballyburn doesn't run. So you're in there with a big fighting chance. If Ballyburn or Mystical Power ran against him, I'd back either to beat him, though.
Interesting. I think I'd back Slade Steele to beat Mystical Power. I'm not sure I'd back him to beat Ballyburn. Gidley Park, best of the British, or the highest up in the Ballymore market for the British. He ran on Trials Day. What did you think of him?
He's a likeable horse. I'm just not sure he was in love with Cheltenham. He's such a big horse. I thought he was a bit at sea early doors. Ended up kind of fighting it out with a horse that I'm not sure is brilliant in Nicky Henderson's Lucky Place.
He reminded me a lot of Top of the Game. I know different trainers, but that like massive, big, gangly chaser.
You'd think he's a long-term prospect. I wouldn't be surprised, this video hopefully going up on the Thursday, that England's best Ballymore horse might well have won the Sydney Banks in Django Bay.
Is that tomorrow?
I think that is.
There we go. That's how little I've been looking at it. The Albert Bartlett then, Reed and Tommy Wrong in their high-class hero. Dancing City won Nathaniel Lacey. He did split Slade Steele and Ballyburn in a bumper at Punchestown at the back end of last year. Probably a few people scratching their heads to understand why he went off 16-1 for that race. Who's going... Is there a standout here?
No.
Where would you be thinking?
Well, in terms of tradition, in years gone by, the type of horse is high-class hero. The one that's probably done it at the trip, has got runs under the belt and seems to be an improving horse. I've obviously backed Croke Park for the race. Obviously a poor run in the Lawler's an Ace. He was pulled up, he was lame after the race. But that being said, Jack Kennedy went on road to Cheltenham 2 weeks later and said he'd probably still be his ride. So you wouldn't throw that docket away, even though I'm not clinging on to it with the greatest amount of hope. I didn't like that form, that Lawler's an Ace form. I wouldn't be bringing it together. I thought Predators Go was a non-stayer. I thought Chatara was a non-stayer. Loch Lynn ran a listless race, was beaten after a hurdle. and the other horses kind of won because nobody else could.
You mean the Nathaniel Lacey?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just thought I didn't like the look of that race at all.
No, I think the winner is quite good though.
Yeah, I can't see him winning a Bartlett.
Interesting. Mares Novices Hurdle comes next. Jay DeGrugy, now 11-4 best price. Good selection from you on her. Brighter Days Ahead, second favourite, 7-2. Dysart Enos we've seen since, 4-1. Joy Use, 14-1. Fun. Tiger Bay Queen, Golden Ace, but it's really dominated by three really, really smart novice hurdling mares. Jay DeGrugy, Brighter Days Ahead, Dysart Enos. Dysart Enos, by far the best of the British.
Yes.
I think that she was pretty good at Doncaster. Equally, she's not really had much of a race this season.
No, a couple of egg and spoon races. One at Cheltenham, I suppose, which was was good. Beat the Bat is not a bad horse, I suppose. And then the fact that the mare she tonked, this Golden Ace, seems to now becoming a kind of a shrewd each way bet for the race. I couldn't have her myself, but at least the form from that Aintree bumper looks quite good at this stage. You'd be worried she hasn't been in much of a battle this year. She's definitely not going to be able to win a Mares Novice against these two on the bridle. My one worry, I've backed Jay DeGrugy earlier on. She's now favourite, or in and around being favourite. She's entitled to be there in the market. My biggest danger is Brighter Days Ahead, but I do worry. She keeps getting entered in things. Where is she? Why isn't she running?
Entered in a 2-5 novice hurdle this weekend.
I didn't like the look of that at all. Why is she running a 2-5 at Navan? A week after the DRF. I don't know. I would just be concerned that the more and more we're waiting, the more and more she's going to have to go there fresh. And he didn't look a polished jumper and didn't seem the finished article. So unless they think she's the absolute best thing since sliced bread, which she could be, and she could prove that, she's going to have to be pretty good.
I think I'd take on Dysart Enos. I'm not really sure where I would be between Jay DeGrugy and Brighter Days Ahead. Probably just for my slight bias towards Gordon, I'd be with Brighter Days Ahead. But we need to see her, and we need to see her before Cheltenham. I think if we were to go in there off no runs, I'd be with Jay DeGrugy. The bumper, this is an interesting one. Jalan Dudery is shortened up in the market, and he didn't even run at the Dublin Racing Festival. Jasmine DeVoe, very, very good for Willie. He was very impressive. Maureen, she was good as well. Romeo Coolio, interestingly, now best price 8-1, 7-6 is a sea of blue for him, even though he's only ran once and wasn't that impressive. I thought You Ought to Know ran pretty well at the Dublin Racing Festival. I also thought the Yellow Clay ran pretty well. Travelled into the race really, really nicely. No real superstar in there. Are we almost just... Is there an obvious one in Jalan Dudery?
I think so. The race has obviously taken a little bit of gloss off the fact that Jeroboam Machan looked really good, and then within a day he's out of the race, which is an awful shame. I'd agree with you about You Ought to Know. I think he's probably got a strong each-way chance in the race. I don't know. He's the type of horse that may end up being ridden by Paul Townend.
Possibly.
Potentially, if Patrick's on Jasmine DeVoe. Still not sure the mare Maureen will run. I've actually had, for my standards, now this is small beer in comparison to a lot of people, but a relatively chunky bet on Jalan Dudery after the Jeroboam Machan form, because I just think, how does this horse finish out of the three? Just doesn't, in my opinion. He's the most solid of them. He's got good form in the book. He's
forward.
He's going to be ridden forward. He's a straightforward horse. I think he's probably pretty ground versatile. I just think there's so much to like. And I think an awful lot of these other horses are going to come in having had one, Jasmine DeVoe's, Romeo Coolio's, one run, impressive, but there's not just enough substance for me. And you're going to Cheltenham in a champion bumper, tough race, and those can sometimes weigh on young horses. As for Jalan Dudery, he looks to me a very professional type.
Over fences now, and the Arkle was blown up. The market was completely blown up. It wasn't Marine National's day, although he remains favourite for the race. Ilite Tomp, the winner of that Irish Arkle, found a 50, finished second. Hunter's Yarn 8-1. Gaelic Warrior, he's massively on the drift for everything. Facile Vega 8-1. Marine National. Should people be rowing in now at 5-2? Or do you look at that Dublin Racing Festival and not touch him?
Well, I wouldn't advise to be rowing in. Definitely it was a disappointing run. There doesn't seem to really be any excuses for it. Barry Connell cited the ground. He's won a Royal Bond on pretty much heavy ground. He's won a Supreme on soft ground. He won a soft ground at Christmas time. Not sure whether that's a complete logical explanation for what's happening. It just seemed to be a below par run. I just look at this race though. I do look past Marine and go, I don't really fancy any of the rest of them either. Like I'm not going to back under any circumstance, and I'll hold my hands up to it, and I'll be proven wrong. But I cannot have Illet Tom for the Arkle in the slightest.
No.
In the slightest. Found a 50, I think, is solid. You can kind of set your watch by him, but is he going to be a bit of a Riviere de Tell? Is he going to be jumping out to his right a little bit too much to win an Arkle? Hunter's Yarn is maybe your shrewd. He's like the Duke de Geneva horse that's going to come from completely left field but could have a chance. Facile Vega, is he going to even run in an Arkle? And JPR1's the best of the English, but I think the English are rotten in this division, so I can't really be having that. And then you're down to Quilixios. I wouldn't be advising to back Marine Nationale, but I think actually, like, come closer, like if we're going to be a week out or on the day, Marine's there, it's not a bad ground, I still think he'll go off favourite, and he's still probably one of the most likely winners.
What did you think of Gaelic Warrior being beaten by Fact to File?
Well, what did you think? I thought it was very average.
Yeah, he was just never at the races. They did go extremely quick in the early part of the races, but I just thought they'd be much better than that. And to be honest, it's difficult to quantify what Fact to File did because he's only beaten one horse and the other horse kind of bombed out. But I did actually think he was very impressive, and I think he should run in the 2.5 race. Now, I know he's favourite for both that and the 3 mile race, but he's got speed. He jumps very quickly, and I do think that he's a very good horse. Ginny's Destiny was very good on Trials Day. Facile Vega in there, could he go up in trip? I suspect we won't see Gaelic Warrior at Cheltenham. I think he'll go to that Ferry House Grade 1 over 2.5 miles and stick right-handed. Found 50's not going to run there. Eleth Francais not going to run. So you're really looking at Ginny's Destiny, probably Facile Vega, the Mount of Paul Townend, Fact to File, Mark Walsh possibly, and Ginny's Destiny.
Yeah, it's not a particularly inspiring race.
No,
you feel like it's there for Fact to File to take, but the short and curlies. Look, Ginny's Destiny has a very similar profile to Stage Star. That's what people are leaping onto. He's a plenty short enough price at this stage.
I don't like him at 3 to 1 at all.
No.
And I love Paul Nicholls' chasers.
Yeah, I just don't think he's as good as Stage Star, to be honest. And also, you're getting no snip of a price at that. I think Facile Vega could well end up here. Mm-hmm.
I could see a world where he goes off favourite. I know that sounds crazy. If Paul Townend's on him,
he'll go off very close to being favourite.
All the vibes will be very, very strong going up in trip. Well, you know what Willie's like.
Well, for instance, if Fact to File runs in the 3 mile race,
Facile will go off favourite.
Facile Vega will go off favourite for this race. I'm not saying that's right, and I'm not saying I'll back him, but he will go off favourite for the race. The one horse in this, actually, I wouldn't mind seeing in the race, because I just think I don't see him winning the 3 mile race, is Grey Dawning.
Interesting.
I know he stays 3 miles very well, but
he could have beaten Ginny's Destiny, couldn't he, in that race before?
And I'm just there going, under a relatively aggressive ride. Harry Skelton's not adverse to one.
He's not. Maybe Dan would look at that and go, yeah, fancy that.
I just thought maybe. Obviously, you've got, like, we probably should mention Nickelback, who won the Scilly Isles.
He went like Cheltenham.
He ran at Cheltenham once, I think, as a handicap hurdler, and he was lapped.
Great performance, but no.
Fantastic performance, and great for Sarah Humphrey and James Best, but unfortunately, I don't see it.
Very quickly on the 3 mile race, and Fact to File's favourite, Stay Away Faye second. He ran in the Cotswold Chase. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it was an okay run.
Stayed onto the line, kind of just a bit of a...
Yeah, but he kind of hung across the track, which I wasn't really sure where he was going there. His jumping was inadequate early doors. You can probably put it, you can say, well, he's a novice in open company. It's a tough ask. He's running against mid 150s, 160 horses. It's still probably the best form in here. I think he's still the one to beat. I would say, though, this is an incredibly open race. And I'm just having a look here at the prices because you've got them in front of me. Who on earth has made Monty Star 6 to 1?
Well,
tell me tell me how's that happened.
There has been a sea of blue for a lot of horses today because Grangeclair West has been ruled out for the season, so a lot of them have shortened on the back of it. Looking in there, anything...
There's even blue for Xander down there.
Yeah, he's still 50-1 with Unibet.
Yeah, Unibet don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, Favordi Trump do Walking on Air. Could he be the one?
Oh, you relax. Xander and Walking on Air could be shaking hands at the start and shaking hands at the end in 6th and 7th.
Yeah, so Factor Fast Stay Away, Faye Grey Dawning, Monty Star, Embassy Gardens, if they were all to run.
Still stay away for me over 3 miles.
Right, now the final novices chase that we need to talk about is the National Hunt Chase. Embassy Gardens is favourite at 5-2 roughly. Corbett's Cross in there. They're going to go to this race, although did fall today or was kind of hampered, brought down. Yeah. Flooring Porter in there, going to also run 15-2. Nick Rocket in there. Salvador Ziggy, 3-car Bragg, Manila Kakuna, Meeting of the Waters. Favordi de Champ do. Competitive.
Yeah, very competitive. I'm not really sure where I lie. A couple of horses at the top of the betting I'm not massive friends of, to be honest, in Embassy Garden and Corbett's Cross.
Did he prove you wrong a little bit?
He has over fences, yeah. I'm still yet to be convinced of him as a kind of out-and-out 3 mile 6 stayer, but he could just have too much class for this race.
Because there's no standout here, is this going to be more of a traditional National Hunt Chase and there'll be more runners and therefore a slower plodder could win it?
Yeah, I think there'll be more runners.
Because there's no Gallard de Menil. I know he was probably fortunate last year, but he was like the sexy horse who got form over shorter.
Well, in theory, Embassy Gardens is that horse, no?
No.
Well, no, I know he's not as good as Gallard de Menil.
But you know when like Statler won it, he was...
Yeah, no, he's a... Yeah, but I think a lot of people will jump on that Embassy Gardens is that horse, or Corbett's Cross is that horse. I'm still worried about Corbett's Cross's jumping. I know his actual fall today wasn't his fault, but his jumping again was just sluggish.
Nick Rocket? Going to run in the Tanif, I think?
Yeah, I think he will. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him at Cheltenham, to be honest. I wouldn't... think he's without a chance in the 3 mile race, let alone the National Hunt Chase.
Yeah.
3-card Bragg doesn't do it for me. Meeting of the Waters is definitely an interesting one if he went down this route. I don't know whether they'll plan a handicap with him or not. He'd be one I'd certainly be keeping on side. Yeah. And on soft ground, caveat being soft, I think Favre de Champdou is a big price.
I agree with that. Now it's time for the big hurdle races, and you've got Constitution Hill in there versus State Man. I think State Man's got better this season. Still don't think he's going to be good enough to get anywhere there.
You are an absolute turncoat of the highest order.
He was so good at the weekend.
State Man.
He was very good at the weekend.
You absolutely hate him for no reason whatsoever. You even turned to me before the race in the 10 and just went, it's just going to be the same again, State Man winning.
I think that's the best State Man we've ever seen.
It was very impressive. He's just very, very good. And the one thing, I did see a tweet about it, which usually those sort of opinions don't necessarily go, I agree with. But at the moment, the Constitution Hill could well end up winning 3 or 4 champion hurdles in a row. And he will be known as one of the proper horses. There is a chance, there is definitely a world where State Man ends up winning 20 grade 1s in his career. And at what stage do you go the 20 grade 1 horses? Like, it's a little bit Hurricane Fly 14. I know probably Constitution Hill is better than all of them put together, but like, do you take the horse that's genuine, just goes every grade 1, turns up and wins at minimum 4 a year and then maybe gets beat in the champion hurdle, or the horse that we're never seeing now and then just turns up in a champion hurdle?
I think it's a very interesting one. Should Lossiemouth run here?
I think for the good of racing, she should run here. I thought she was so impressive.
She was so good.
Oh, Lord above. Because I got very little right in the international, or in Trials Day in general. But seeing her just tank to the last, and I mean tank, and they're not bad rivals. Roubaud's, was only 7 lengths behind Connie Hill. Now, that was unextended and all that, but he's not bad. Love Envoi, not bad. Dear me. She should, but the problem is
she won't.
She'll win the mares. So.
Yeah. Champion Chase, El Fabiolo, John Bon. John Bon beaten by Elixir de Nuts.
You couldn't make that up.
No.
My worry with John Bon is that he's been beaten and he's had a hard enough race.
Yeah.
And I can't get away. I know he's been... 2 of those were against 2 unbelievably good horses, but you look at his record everywhere, and you look at his Cheltenham record, and he's 1 from 4.
Mare's Hurdle. Lost your mouth. Will you be getting involved at 8 to 13?
Yeah, with all my money. I can row in at those types of prices. Unfortunately not.
We have seen 2 other mares, though. Well, we've seen 3. Love Envoy, Gala Marceau, Ashro Diamond, Marie's Rock we also saw.
Yeah, I'd potentially side with Gala Marceau, maybe turning that form around from Doncaster. I just didn't think she got the most efficient ride. I think at 2.5 miles she might be able to beat her, but I think they're all playing catch-up. I just don't think, fundamentally... they're just not as good, and I know people will say, oh, will Lossie Mount stay? She's just too good, I think.
I think she's just a very, 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 very good mare. And I actually really like and admire the patience that Willie's had with us this year. He made it very clear that he was going to take things slowly and let her physically develop as much as possible, because 4-year-olds going into open company have traditionally struggled, and it looks like he's done that perfectly, because she was absolutely beautiful to watch at Cheltenham on Trials Day. Right, the last race we're going to talk about is the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Next week we'll be talking about those handicaps if we hit 700 likes on this video. But Galop under Champ beat Fast or Slow in the Irish Gold Cup. Shishkin runs this weekend at Newbury in the Denman Chase. Jerry Colombe we've not seen since. He's going to go straight there. Lahon Presse looks like he's going to run. Hewick, Gentleman's Game. Korat Rambler, Brave Man's Game. Is it simply just to sit back and watch brilliance in Galop under Champ, or is there a betting angle? Now he's had quite a busy season. He has had a busy season, which I feel bad to kind of rebuke, because we always ask for horses to be running, and then we're there going... Oh no, of course, but we're talking about it from a backing point of view. A horse who maybe had his campaign last year around twice before the Cheltenham Festival compared to 3. Yeah, more mileage on the clock. I would have thought the first 2 in the Irish Gold Cup would be the first 2 in the Gold Cup. To be honest, I think they're the standout horses. Gallopin is an unbelievably good horse. Do you take the chance that Fast or Slow will do him 5 to 1? No, I don't necessarily need to have a bet to watch the spectacle. I just think Fast or Slow will run an unbelievable race in the Gold Cup. I think 3-2 will suit him. He's such a good jumper. He's a proper jumper to watch. Galopin wasn't even at his best jumping wise, but he still beat him comfortably enough. Love how they're riding him aggressive now. They know he stays, and that's what's been the big difference. Yeah. It's really quality. I just think, though, like, you do look at quite a lot of the rest of the horses. You know, Fast or Slow has won a John Durkin. He's won a Punchestown Gold Cup. What other are these? You know, Jerry Colombe couldn't win a John Durkin these days. Shishkin probably would struggle in a John Durkin. You know, he's got a bit of pace and he stays. I just think there's an awful lot of upside for him to run very well. I think he'll be the one that gives him the biggest threat. It's a good race in behind. There's good horses there. Do I see a Jerry Colombe potentially plodding on for 3rd? Yes, I do. But I think it's between the top 2. There we go. We do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you want a sneak peek or a handicap breakdown in next week's video, then do hit 700 likes. We'll see you soon.